Buongiorno. Welcome to my kitchen today. We are making braciole. Braciole is a stuffed rolled meat. So I've got some nice thin cut meat here. You can use, my grandmother used to, if I'm not mistaken, she used to use sirloin tip. But you know, you want any kind of a really good thin cut. Honestly, I've never really gotten, you know, in New Jersey, you can go buy braciole meat. It's actually in the package and it's titled that. Down here, they have similar thin cuts of meat, but they're cut smaller and they're called sandwich steaks. So, you know, you can use those too, but they're kind of small. So anyway, this is the same meat that they, you know, it's London broil. I forget what that is. Bottom round, top, I don't know what the heck it is. I'm not a steak connoisseur or beef connoisseur, but I know my braciole meat. Anyway, first thing we're gonna do though real quick is we're gonna make a quick pot of basic tomato sauce. So I haven't done that in a long time on here. So we're gonna start that because these babies are gonna go in the sauce. Let's give me a couple cloves of garlic out. So first thing I'm gonna do is just put a little bit of olive oil here in the bottom of my sauce pot. Just give it a kind of a little bit of a bigger pot there. Little coating. And I'm gonna turn that on low because I don't want that oil to get too hot. So I'm cooking it with extra virgin olive oil, and when you're using extra virgin, you don't want it to cook too hot. Just a quick reminder, whenever you're doing garlic, you know, cut the root end off first. If you just cut that little piece off and hold it down, you know, the garlic peels right off, and give it a little crack and ba-boom, no sticky garlic fingers. All right, so again, I'm going to point out that in Italy, they would put these 2 cloves there in the oil, let it do its thing, and then pull it out later. I personally love when the garlic is a little golden and gets that little, you know, caramelization on it. I like that. I like picking them out and eating them. So I'm going to cut these. If you like the garlic flavor and you want to put it in, like, you know, crushed like in a garlic press, you can do that too, but just be careful that you don't burn it. So I'm just kind of rough chopping this because I like it like this. Wait, I love this part. Oh, it wasn't hot enough usually. When it's hotter, the first drop, you get that little tss. But I have some tomatoes that are mine. I made some sauce the other day. So I'm going to finish using this up, and then I'm going to add another jar to it. But I'm going to wait till these start to sizzle. My garlic is sizzling. It's flavoring the oil. Now, some people do put onion in their sauce. That's up to you. This is a garlic sauce. This was sauce that I had already made, so it's got some seasoning in it already. But I'm going to put more in. Okay, they're just starting to turn golden. Oh yeah. And now what I'm gonna do is put a little, rinse these out with water, and I'm gonna get it from my fridge over here, my nice filtered water. When you're cooking meat in a sauce, you don't want a really thick sauce because then it all just kind of clumps together and then you don't end up with much sauce. So you kind of want to thin it out a little bit. Boom. There we go. Much better. Okay, I'm doing the same thing with this one. And it cleans out your jar. All right. And that's perfect because the one I had already cooked was nice and thick. And we're gonna let that cook up for a little bit. I already had some fresh basil in there. I think I might have another. I'm gonna put a little bit of oregano, my good Italian oregano. And I'll test it for salt later, but I am gonna put a pinch of pepper in now. So what I'm gonna show you now is what's really important. So first of all, I have some of these, you know, plastic, actually these are awesome, Pampered Chef. If you need any, call me. But these I just put on top of here because I'm gonna do a little banging. I don't wanna bang on my wood, and I also prefer to put something between. I'll always use a different thing. If I'm going to be doing other things on here, I don't want to put the meat directly on it. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you. So I've got this meat. Now it's about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch. If you want your butcher to do it right, go talk to them. And what one butcher friend had told me that he would, if he knew I wanted the Braciole meat to get it nice and thin, he would put the meat, the big piece of meat, in the freezer for an hour or two to get it a little more firm. He said, because then when he sliced it on the meat slicer, it held better and it made a nicer thin slice. A good butcher, I think he was a good butcher, but really a good butcher can slice this knife if they've got those good knives. They do it in Italy. Okay, so I have a piece of plastic here that I already pulled out. Okay, and what I'm going to do is put it on top of my meat. Now, I do recommend you get one of those pounders that's like a handle and it's just got the round heavy part on the bottom. I still have one of these old ones here. It has this, you know, the sharp pieces that really pound the holes in it, and then it's got the smooth side. I'm just using the smooth side. If you do, because my grandmother used to just do it and there was meat flung everywhere. But boy, you know, that was just the way we did it. It was fun. She always had little meat specks on her apron. But if you put a piece of plastic on top, don't use this because you'll get broken pieces of plastic in your meat and you don't want that. So just use the flat side. If you want to use, if you have a thick piece and you couldn't get it that thin, then put a towel on top of your plastic and you can pound it. Let me move the knife. You know, you can pound it with this side if you need to do that. But otherwise, you don't need that. And you can just... Now, you got to be careful. You got to do it smooth because if you pound too hard, you're going to pound a hole right in the meat. But see, this one came out nice and thin. And it was about this size. I only had 2. I already did the rest of them. But let's do this one. So see the size of it now? And let's pound it. And see how much bigger it is? So now, this is the trick. Braciole are made differently in different regions. So for example, in my region of Puglia, where Rosetto del Fortore is, which is where I take everybody on trips, we make them one way. My other grandmother was Sicilian, and she made them the way we're making them today. Some people just put a little bit of herbs and spices and roll it up and tie it up and put it in the sauce. Other people do it different ways. Some people cook them completely in the sauce. Some people brown them and then put them in the sauce. So I'm going to show you how I do them. No way's right, no way's wrong, depending where you're from. But you really got to try these. Okay. So anyway, we are going to take some meat here. We're going to take a couple of these. Let's do a couple at a, we do a couple at a time. So the way I used to do these, and honestly, if I was here by myself, I'd be on my dining room table with a bunch of these out, and I'd have them all done at once. You put them all, you put all your meat out. You can make teeny tiny ones. You can make great, I've even seen them where you take a couple pieces of meat and you do it all one big one. I don't do it that way. I like my own. I don't want to share. But if you do it that way, then when you cut it, it is really pretty. So here's what we're going to do. First things first. First, I'm just going to sprinkle a little salt on each one. So I'm using some sea salt because that's all I use. And a little pepper. Season each piece. Of course, we're seasoning what's going to be the inside here. Okay, salt and pepper. And now begins the goodies. Okay, we're going to put in a little pile of breadcrumbs in each one. These are my homemade breadcrumbs. So you're making a line in the middle, or like kind of in the middle-ish, middle closer to you a little, because you got to roll it up. Little breadcrumbs. It's probably, I'd say, a tablespoon or tablespoon and a half of breadcrumbs. But again, it also depends on the size of your meat. So like this one's a little bigger. Okay, so now we have a little bit of breadcrumbs. Now we're going to take a little bit of grated cheese. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it this way. It's a little easier to pinch out of instead of the big jar. Put a little teeny bit of grated cheese, grated Parmesan. You can use Romano also, often use Romano. But if you use Romano, I'm going to tell you what you're doing next. Okay. So now in here I have 2 different kinds of cheese. I've got chunks of Romano cheese, and I've got chunks of Asiago cheese. Now, normally I would use like Parmesan and a little thin sliver. The way Nonna used to do it, I'll use this knife, is just make these little slivers. You know, so of course that one broke in half, but that's okay. Just little pieces of cheese. You need a little chunk in there. So you've got the grated, but you need to have a little chunk. It just, for some reason, adds something. So I'm just adding a sliver of cheese, the hard, sharp cheese. You know, Parmesan's not as sharp as the Romano. Now you can use the Asiago. It's more melty and it's not quite what we would normally use, but I had it and you know, I have it, and so it's just good to eat. Okay, so there's a sliver of Romano on each one. That one was a little small. Okay. Now I have some really thin slivered onions. We're gonna put in some little slivers, you know, 2, 3, 4 little, but as long as they're nice and thin. See how thin they are? Just missing one. Okay, so now we are taking, this is the fun part, move this over, because we are taking some hard-boiled egg. Isn't this fun? It's like we're building this. So we're just cutting an egg in half and then we're cutting it into little slivers. So we're just putting one little sliver in each one. You want to make sure you get a piece of white and yolk in it, because that just really makes a difference. Nonna would do nothing without her parsley. So, just going to rough chop this. You can take the little stems out. I thought I ripped them all off already. It doesn't really, you can put whole leaves in, but I like to chop it up. Okay, sorry about that. So we're gonna just put a little teeny bit of parsley in each one. You can put it on the meat side, it doesn't matter. It's all gonna, gotta have the prezzemolo. Prezzemolo, I don't even know if it's masculine or feminine. That's another question I gotta ask my cousin. Okay, now, last thing, which is the most important. Now, some people, and on occasion, she would put a little garlic in, but usually the garlic was in the sauce, and that's enough. The onion in here is really what is important. Now, back in the old days, she'd use a little piece of lard. But as times got different, you know, we will use a little. If by chance you have some good, clean, nice, fresh, organic lard from a pig you knew, put a little teeny sliver of lard in. But if not, what we do, which is what I usually do, is a little drizzle of oil. You want those breadcrumbs to get wet. Now, the other thing you can do is you can wet the breadcrumbs ahead of time, you know, put moist breadcrumbs in. But she used to always do it this way, so this is the way I do it. And we just put a little oil on the whole thing. There we go. Okay. Now, they're fine. All right, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to roll these up, tie them, you know, roll them up nice and tight. You want to tuck the end in a little if it's sticking out there. You're going to roll them all up, pull it towards you, make that first piece nice and tight. Make sure your pieces are all tucked in. And the last one. Actually, I like doing the short side first. So I'm rolling this one backwards. Tuck it in and tuck it in. Okay, so now I've got 6 braciole all rolled up. Now, this is why I keep the apron, right, the towel right here. You can do it 2 ways. You can take it one piece at a time and tie them up. You can also use toothpicks. But honestly, toothpicks are harder. They're all a pain, but it's all worth it. But if I accidentally get a piece of string in my mouth, I'm not as worried and upset as I am if I get a piece of wood. So you can do them, you know, tie it one, you know, piece at a time, which is one way, but it's actually, and you don't want to have these long pieces, so you're going to trim them. Or I'm going to show you the cool way. Yeah, I know. I like doing things the cool way. So you're going to take a piece. You're going to start it here. You're going to wrap it around. You're going to take it over that one that you put on first, and you're going to crisscross it, and you're going to tie your ends. So you go up and around this way. and then you tie it. Oh, kind of like a present, you know? You go around and then you crisscross the middle and boom, you're done. So, but that helps the ends stay tight. If not, because then you don't want your stuff falling out. If you don't do it that way, then go ahead and tie one long piece around the other way. And then what we do, I made this a little too short. So see, this is nice and tied. Let's get this nice and hot here. Now, because we salt and peppered the inside, I'm gonna put just a smidge, you know, now on the outside. Okay. And let's see if that's hot yet. Oh, it is. That's sizzling. So I'm gonna finish using up these couple sample pieces that I cut to show you on this guy. 30. Okay. And now we're just going to turn these over. They got a nice little brownness on them. You really want to get like a nice little sear on the whole thing, but you're not cooking them all the way through. You're just browning them, and then we're going to put them in the sauce. So look at this. It's nice and solid, because now, of course, it's cooking, and the string is almost, well, it is important still, but I mean, it's nice and sealed. It's firmed up, so it's not going to, you know, and now that is, you know, the outside's all seared. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one in the sauce. And that's pretty much it. But let me tell you, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this sauce low and slow for the rest of, I don't know, a good hour or more. This is something you can start in the morning and have it for dinner. It can be your dinner time, your meat and vegetables. So it can be just like, you know, at nighttime, so you're not having your heavy carbs, or it can be a secondo, a second course after your pasta, in the sauce that you cooked it in, and then you put that sauce on your pasta. Ooh, it's so good. All right, this one nice. And that one there. Woohoo! And we're gonna let these babies cook in the sauce until they're done. And you know, they're done when you can tell they start to get, you can see that they like soak up the sauce, and it just really, oh, they're just like heavenly. So I really hope that you enjoyed this recipe today, because this is one of my childhood favorites. I won a contest with this recipe, so now you can too, because you know my secret. And you know, it's just something really simple, but no matter what you put in there, think of this as a base. Now this is one Sicilian recipe. You can, like, if you like the garlic flavor, one of the things that I forgot to mention, my grandmother would sometimes do, just cut a piece of garlic and just rub the inside of the meat. You can do that too. You can do this with just garlic and herbs. Garlic and parsley, maybe a little onion. Sometimes people put pine nuts inside. There's a lot of ways you can make a braciole. Make it your own. Or use mine and just say it's yours. I have no problem with that. Or just tell them that, you know, you and your friend Dorina made it together once, because we just did. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. I thank you for coming again, like you do each day, to my kitchen. I really appreciate it, because you guys keep me just as much company as some of you say I keep you. So that makes me happy. So anyway, please don't forget that we are here for the purpose of bringing people to the table. And I guarantee you, if you make braciole, everybody's going to be at the table. And it's really easy. You get a big pack. I actually have some more. When we're done here, I'm going to finish making them, because I'm going to have a whole bunch, and I'm sharing it, and maybe having some people over. You know, might save some for this Friday night or this weekend or whatever. But I'm telling you, these are good. And this is something you want to have people over. And it's also something easy enough to make just for a couple of you. You saw how quick that is. You can make for 2 people, not a problem, okay? So don't say, oh, I just cooked for 1, I just cooked for 2, or oh, I gotta cook for 8. That was my story. But remember, make good stuff and they will come to the table. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're not already, and please go to dorinaskitchen.com and, you know, sign up for my website. I really appreciate it. I'm looking for new members every day, because those are the people that are going to always get my news first. I don't throw out a whole lot of news, you know, but When I do, you want to hear about it. So anyway, have a wonderful day. Share all this stuff with your family. Share my page with people. Come on, we need to grow this movement some more. I'm counting on you guys. You guys are you guys who watch me now, who've watched me for the last year, you guys are the beginning of this whole incredible national, gonna be international movement. Get back to the table, revive the Rosetto effect. I know I'm babbling. Buona giornata. See you guys later. Ciao.